Hi, it's Wednesday, April the 26th, and I continue to read and wonder my way through the book of Exodus. And today we're in Exodus chapter 8, verses 20 to 32. Now, thus far, we're going through the plagues, right? So Moses and Aaron have confronted Pharaoh as per God's instructions. In fact, they're following God's instructions very precisely. What to say, how to say it, what to do, everything. Where to meet Pharaoh, all that's happening. Pharaoh has not really come over where they hoped, right? So, I mean, all they want, it's reasonable. They want Pharaoh to let the Israelites go out into the wilderness, about 3 days' journey into the wilderness to make sacrifice to God. But Pharaoh's not having it. Pharaoh won't do it. We turned the water into blood. Pharaoh wasn't impressed. Frogs all over the land. Pharaoh was impressed by that one, and in fact said, so make the frogs stop. Ask God to make the frogs stop, and I will let the people go. So Moses asked God to stop the frogs. The frogs stopped. The ones on land died, and there were heaps of them, and the land stank. It's gross. And then Pharaoh reneged and did not let the people go. Now, with the water in the Nile and the frogs, each time God has warned and said, if you don't let the people go, I'm going to do this. But then the third one comes and God doesn't warn. It's just boom, it happens. And it's gnats, fleas, little bugs everywhere. And Pharaoh's not impressed, but Pharaoh's magicians are, because they can't do that. They can do the water, they can do the frogs, not as well, but they can do it. And they said, no, this is the finger of God. They said, this is bigger than us. Pharaoh's not listening. That's where we are right now. So here it is. It's Exodus 8, verses 20 to 32. Then the Lord said to Moses, rise early in the morning and present yourself before Pharaoh as he goes out to the water, and say to him, thus says the Lord, let my people go, so that they may worship me. For if you will not let my people go, I will send swarms of flies on you, your officials and your people, and into your houses, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be filled with swarms of flies, so also the land where they live. But on that day I will set apart the land of Goshen, where my people live, so that no swarms of flies shall be there, that you may know that I, the Lord, am in the land. And thus I will make a distinction between my people and your people. This sign shall appear tomorrow. The Lord did so, and great swarms of flies came into the houses of the Pharaoh and into his officials' houses, and in all of Egypt the land was ruined because of the flies. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, okay, go, sacrifice to your God within the land. But Moses said it would not be right to do so, for the sacrifices that we offer to the Lord our God are offensive to the Egyptians. If we offer in the sight of the Egyptians sacrifices that are offensive to them, will they not stone us? We must go a 3 days journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he commands us. So Pharaoh said, I will let you go to sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness, provided you do not go very far away. Pray for me. Then Moses said, as soon as I leave you, I will pray to the Lord that the swarms of flies may depart tomorrow from Pharaoh and from his officials and from his people. Only do not let Pharaoh again deal falsely by not letting the people go to sacrifice to the Lord. So Moses went out from Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord. And the Lord did as Moses asked. He removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his officials, and from his people. Not one remained. But Pharaoh hardened his heart this time also, and would not let the people go. Pharaoh continues to harden his heart. I've already talked about that. But so God may have set Pharaoh on this path, but Pharaoh is now walking the path himself. He is hardening his own heart, it says. And surely at his peril. Last time he did this with the frogs, it didn't work out very well, did he? And yet Moses keeps trying. So I wonder that a little bit. I mean, the beginning of this sounds very familiar. Rise early in the morning, present yourself before Pharaoh as he goes out to the water. That's how we did the Nile thing. That's how we did the first plague. Very, very same kind of words. And And the thing is that Pharaoh has not been moved. And in fact, Pharaoh has lied. And I talked about that yesterday. The evil, as it were, that is Pharaoh. So in the face of evil, of lying, of betrayal, what does God tell Moses to do? Keep being Moses. Try again and again. And yeah, this kind of advice can certainly be misapplied and used badly. But Moses is not changing the plan. God's not changing the plan. Moses will keep doing what God asks Moses to do, and it's the same thing again. Moses is acting with openness, with integrity, and I have to wonder whether that's not part of the message in this. When doing God's work, when trying to live faithfully and lovingly, when we are thwarted by those who don't deserve the respect we're giving them, the kindness that's being offered, they don't deserve it. When confronted with that, then keep doing it. Don't lower yourself to their level. Yeah, when they go low, you go high. That's sort of what I'm getting from this. Moses just keeps trying, basically giving Pharaoh another chance and another chance. And now we're on to the fourth chance. Is that really what God believes we should do? Is that a fair inference to make from this? That we should just keep being nice? Every time we show up at the bully's house and the bully punches us, do we just keep showing up? I don't know. I have to wonder. I can remember, see now that just turning this into wisdom. Gosh, I'm an old man telling stories when I was a kid, but I can remember being, what age do you go to grade 7? So 12. And I had to take a bus to school, got on the bus, sat at the back of the bus because I liked sitting at the back of the bus. And a couple older kids got on who felt they should sit at the back of the bus. I didn't know it was cool to sit at the back of the bus in those days. And they told me to move, and I didn't. And this kid hauled off and kicked me hard in the chest. I can remember that. He pushed back to the corner, hit hard in the chest. And I sat there. And I carried on as if he hadn't done it. And he did not know what to do next. And I think that's the last time that he ever hit me or bullied me. And that makes a lovely little afternoon movie story, doesn't it? Stand up to bullies and they stop bullying you. Doesn't always work that way. I have other stories too where I got beaten up very badly. But in that situation, I didn't. I didn't lose my cool. I just carried on almost as if he wasn't there, in a sense. I mean, inside I was terrified he'd hit me harder. But I carried on as if he hadn't hit me at all. And it seems to me that that's a little bit of what Moses is doing here. Moses is just carrying on, giving Pharaoh a chance. And then Pharaoh blows it. And he gives Pharaoh a chance again, as if it was Pharaoh's first chance. And so here we are again. Pharaoh's lied to you. Pharaoh has cheated. And yet, here you go, because God's asked you to give Pharaoh another chance. And so you keep trying. I think probably, and I think I reflected on this a little bit yesterday, there is something in this about not losing your integrity. Staying the plan. Keep listening to what God is saying. When it's time to do something different, God will tell you. Yeah, you wonder, how do I know what God is saying? Every now and again I get really angry. Couldn't that be God telling me to get even? Well, that's one of the reasons that I think that it helps to be with others as we interpret the Word of God. To listen to the Word of God, to be able to check with each other, saying, you know what I'm feeling, what I'm hearing, what I'm thinking in this situation, I think God wants me to do this. and to have people you trust be able to go like, I don't think so, Norm. Have you thought about it this way? That's the only way that I know to figure these things out, is to actually talk to other people, because left to my own devices, pretty soon I'm going to be pretty sure that God is telling me that I should go low. Meet them down there on the low road. Never mind taking the high road. Yeah. So then I also wonder here about flies. Right, we had the water, we had the frogs, we had the gnats, and I talked a little bit how what I can imagine them being symbolically. Just the power of the Nile and the fertility gods with the god, and then the fact that they think of themselves as being so clean, and being covered in gnats with lice. That's not clean. That's disgusting. Flies are that too. So they're very similar, I assume. But what we've added here is, there'll be swarms of flies, but not in Goshen. Not where the Israelites are living. So the Egyptians, so Goshen is in Egypt, right? So it's in the land. So all around, those people will be swarms of flies, just making them crazy, making them, again, kind of making them dirty, right? Flies all over you. That's not a sign of cleanliness. But in the midst of that, the Egyptians will be clean. The Egyptians, now of course, the Israelites will be clean. The Egyptians think of themselves as the clean people, and of course, they would think of the Hebrews, the Israelites, as the unwashed, the filthy people, the impure, filthy people. And yet, what God is saying is no. They're going to be clean. They're not going to have flies. You will have flies. I think God's kind of doubling down on the gnats, but also showing that God has showing that God has a preference in this situation for the oppressed, for Israel. If they didn't know before, they now know. I would suggest too that the plague of the flies is a step up from the gnats or the fleas, because we have separated out the Israelites. That's a lot of power. I mean, Pharaoh's magicians could replicate lots of stuff, so they apparently could turn the water red. Good for them. Apparently, they could get frogs to appear. Great for them. They couldn't do the fleas. But even if they could, the next step is it's not just bring the frogs all over the land. It's like bring the frogs all over the land except for this area. Make them stay out of that. That's another level. Magicians won't even think about doing that. So I think that God, in a sense, is doubling down. But the thing that I really like about it is, first there's Pharaoh negotiating now. Okay, this is getting out of hand. Tell you what, worship here. So Pharaoh in this reveals that Pharaoh is concerned about losing the labor force, right? So it would seem that the Israelites are doing work that Egyptians don't know how to do. Because surely it wouldn't be a panic. I mean, if the Israelites left and we got to find some Egyptians and put them to work. I mean, surely there are some lower caste Egyptians that you could have put to work. Surely there are some who want to do the work. I'm assuming they don't know how to do the work. They just don't know how to do it. So Pharaoh doesn't want to lose those people. Oh my gosh, what will we do if they're gone? I look around my world and I see evidence of it, but I read history and I can, read history back 3,000-4,000 years, and there comes a point where the people become so reliant on the labor that they no longer know how to function themselves. They don't know how to farm themselves. They don't know how to take care of things themselves. They are now relying on the very people they consider to be unclean, and to the point where Pharaoh is going through these plagues because he will not let the Egyptians go to pray, and the Israelites go to pray. Wow, they're afraid, and surely they've heard that yes, that at some point the house of Israel will go up and out of Egypt, and maybe they even know they're going to go to Canaan. Maybe they know, but Egypt doesn't want to lose that workforce, doesn't want to lose that income stream. Perhaps I don't know how we look at it, but the thing is that Moses, Pharaoh, and the Egyptians are valuing the Israelites not for who they are as people, not for who they are as faithful people in terms of their relationship to God or to others. They see them simply as a commodity. You work, I make money. You work, I'm comfortable. You work, I don't have to work. And the thought of losing that, well, that seems to be motivating Pharaoh. That and the fact that Pharaoh doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to be the guy who capitulates. I recognize that in life too, and not just in others. I recognize it in myself. At this point, Pharaoh would have to admit a defeat, right? So Pharaoh says, no, I don't even know your God. And then a couple of plagues, and Pharaoh's, oh yeah, I give in. Which, by the way, he kind of did with the frogs. And he's kind of done here, but not so that anyone else can hear. And, of course, he doesn't live up to it. No, Pharaoh needs to, in his mind anyway, needs to look strong. And as far as Pharaoh is concerned, changing your mind is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of weakness. You should be able to exert your will. And the thing is that if everything is about exerting your will and it's about your pride and you're getting what you want, the thing is that you become trapped in that too. Because if you change your mind or want a different thing, all of a sudden you must have lost, because surely to goodness you were all about keeping the Israelites here, and now you're letting them go. Oh, they got to you, are they? They're stronger than you are. I look around my life, and yeah, I see that a lot. I see that a lot. The idea of changing our minds basically as a sign of weakness. I hear it in political campaigns all the time. And we'll point out how the incumbent used to say one thing and now does another thing. And it's not necessarily even revealing a great evil. It's not, it's not like he says, be nice to animals, and at home he's kicking his dog. It's that he says, I think dogs are the greatest, and then one day he decides to get a cat. And now he's running for office. And yes, we thought he loved dogs. That cat-loving liar. Well, surely you can broaden your experiences. Surely you can change your mind, and that's not a sign of weakness. But so often in the world, it is. And Pharaoh would get that, because Pharaoh's not backing down. Pharaoh's not changing his mind and going, you know what? It actually is reasonable what you want. It's not working. So I find that a recognizable commentary. But here's the piece that gets me, that actually will get me thinking for the rest of the day. Pharaoh offers a compromise, which would be like not losing, but so you can get what you want, but I'm letting you leave the land. So Pharaoh offers this compromise, but Moses says, no. No, because the sacrifices we offer to the Lord are offensive to the Egyptians. Now, he also says, because if we do something offensive in front of the Egyptians, will they not stone us? Well, yeah, but they're already beating you. They're already holding you basically in captivity. So I'm not so sure that Moses is afraid that the Israelites will be mistreated. They are already being mistreated. I think Moses is showing respect to the Egyptian people. Moses is saying our faith, the way that we live our faith, is going to offend some of your people. They're going to sacrifice animals that the Egyptians don't believe in sacrificing. And that would be offensive to them. So Moses is respecting them. And that might be the takeaway piece for me in this. Is, as you try again, as your adversary lies to you and cheats and does everything to take advantage of you, it doesn't hurt to continue to respect them anyway. Now, in fairness, Moses is more concerned about respecting the Egyptians than respecting the Pharaoh. But the people and the Pharaoh are one, right? So, in not offending, in respecting and not offending the Pharaoh, Moses is respecting and not offending the Egyptians as a whole. He won't do it. He knows what offends them and avoids it. And I think about some of the things that I have seen in the last little while. By little while, I mean couple, maybe say 5 years, just seeing the way that some disrespect people of other faiths. Moses is actually taking the time to recognize that the Egyptian faith is different than his, and he doesn't want to offend. He doesn't want to give up on his faith, but doesn't want to offend the Egyptians. Do we offer that to people of other faiths? Do you? Do we do that very often? That we really think about, what we need and how can we have it without offending you? How can I live my faith fully and not offend you or hurt you? That, to me, is what's going on here. And I don't know how often we actually do that. I think very often we get a sense that, wow, my faith's the best faith, so I'm going to do my thing. I'm not going to ask you to do it necessarily, but I don't really care how you feel about it because I'm just going to do it. That's not what Moses does. Not what Moses does at all. Moses is aware of what will offend the Egyptians and tries to avoid doing it, even when Pharaoh is telling him to go ahead and do it. Now, I think there's something in that's important. You know what? I'm going to stop right there. I don't know if I've given you much. I've given me a couple things to think about, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what happens next. Anyway, let me offer a prayer. Loving God, we thank you for Scripture, for stories of our faith that stretch way back and yet somehow are relevant today. God, as we recognize our current world in Scripture of long ago, let us recognize ourselves, not just as the hero of the story, but sometimes the villain, sometimes stuck in between. Let us recognize that in our humanity, we can be many, many things. God, we ask that we always remember that you love us, even as we are many, many things. We pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit. Amen. That's enough for me today. I look forward to checking in with you tomorrow, and we'll see what happens then. Until we do check in, though, please, God bless you. Please know that God sees you and that God loves you, and that God's love moves through you and into the world. You matter. God bless.